Welcome.
Along with me.
Oh, gnarly!
Oh my God, I shot my eye out.
Please go to 11.
Reading Starfighter.
Hasta la vista, baby.
14.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 40 Going on 14. I am Mike.
I am Patrick.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Josh, and this week we're talking about the D&D 80s cartoon and Legend of Vox Machina, featuring all of the characters in everyone's first campaign when they were 8 years old, and all the characters from everyone's first campaign when they were 30 years old.
Yeah, so this week we are looking at two animated features, one based off the role-playing game, one based off the, what is it called again? Critical Role.
A real play Critical Role podcast /
apparently
Twitch
all the
stream.
hotness right now.
Yeah.
5th edition.
Well, what system do they use?
5th edition.
Okay.
I believe that the first campaign, they started in Pathfinder and converted to 5e, but the second two campaigns, which are with completely different parties, were all 5e.
Getting a bit ahead.
we'll
But
get to that
yeah,
in
so if you'd like to get in touch,
A little
give
ahead
us
of
a show
ourselves.
idea, you can like to hear, you can do that at 708-NOW-RAP. That's 708-669-9727. You also join the conversation on our Discord by clicking the Join Us link in the show notes. I don't know, I've been really busy. I don't even know what the hell's going on that channel anymore.
It's been fairly quiet this week, honestly. We're talking a little
But
bit
also,
about
if you'd like
Gina
to
Gershon and
leave
Jennifer
us
Tilly.
a show idea and don't want to go through the Discord, you can also click the link below and go to our Google Forms and leave us a text idea, or you can upload a voicemail to us also. This week, unfortunately, we do not have a voicemail. Yeah, we do not. We do not have a question either.
Man.
You are correct,
That's
sir.
a new thing. Michael doesn't do.
Do we have a question?
No. Michael completely
We
flaked
used
out.
them all.
I forgot to look. I'm taking the place of Josh today. Will be Mike.
I forgot to look.
Oh.
Let's see. Responses random. All right, Joel, give me a number between 1 and 70.
Yes.
32. The question is,
32.
did we do this one on the show? Have you seen any of the co-hosts naked? Yeah, I think we did too. 32. Did
I
Joel
think we
grow
did
up
that
rich?
one.
I know we did that one.
Go to 33 then.
Why didn't the
Yeah, we
rest
know
of
we
the
did that
boys
one.
join the show?
We'll keep counting up until we hit a good one.
Which friend are you all connected by?
Nope, we did that one.
We did that one, yep.
Oh.
Ah.
We didn't talk about that.
Interesting.
Now, are we just saying what, because I think we all have more than one friend that we're connected by.
Well, here's the thing, is like 3 of us met at the same place, and then Mike joined later, so whoever introduced Mike to the group is by default the connecting friend.
But if that's only if we're talking about the 4 of us. If we're talking about everybody, like who would be the big linchpin of all our friends? Like the whole, like who would be the son of like all our college friends if you talk about that group?
That's tough. I mean, I would probably be most likely because, like, I brought Will in through the commuters.
And Will is who I was thinking.
And when it comes to people that didn't go to Concordia but hung out with us in the college days, like Brian went to high school with me.
What about
So, like-
Dennis? Who's responsible for Dennis?
I was. Dennis came into the record store because he wanted to audition for Hot Stove Jimmy, and he wanted some of their
Who
music.
introduced me to Pat?
And he and I started talking, and then I introduced him to the rest of you guys.
That's the question, because when it comes to the linchpin that unites the 4 of us, it was probably Joel.
Did I, Joel?
Because I think you met Joel before you met me.
I don't think so, no. I don't remember
Shit.
meeting you till after I met Josh.
The very
and
first
Pat.
time I met Mike was outside of the cafeteria.
Yeah, on the little cement patio
Like,
thing.
you know, that little, we were all hanging, you guys were all hanging out one evening. Yeah.
Oh, shit. That might have
one
been me
evening.
again.
Yeah. And I came up to meet
How
up
did
with
I
you
meet
guys.
you,
and
Josh?
That was I'd heard about Mike, but this was the first time I'd actually met him.
You know what? I think it might have been when Will and I were doing, right after I'd move on campus, the Joker distribution list. The job of
shit, I
keeping an
forgot about
efficient Riddler. Yeah, and we had this weird little booth that was just playing Steve Miller's The Joker on repeat, and most people didn't understand what we were doing. Because this was immediately before the campus had access to any chat rooms. There were no graphics for the web. So the way to connect on campus, because Facebook was sure as shit not a thing, was the Riddler mail distribution list. which immediately went sideways when people started sharing controversial opinions and flame wars started.
Oh, yeah.
So Will coded a impromptu little pseudo message board to keep the conversation going and make moderation easier.
Okay.
And named it Joker, Job of Keeping an Efficient Riddler. And I was promoting it around campus because I was fresh on campus, and I'm pretty sure Mike met the two of us at that booth.
And Will, being a fan of coding and regulations and monitoring
and
other
acronyms.
people, and acronyms, that is all right up his alley. Interesting.
Sounds about right to me.
I had to go through the haze of too many drinks and too many years.
Yeah.
So yeah, Will is one of the pillars then, I guess.
For who's to blame?
Talk about who's responsible for introducing.
Well, and I will
Right.
I will never forget going to his house. I think it was his house, and his grandma made us all
Oh my
a
God,
giant
yeah.
bowl of pasta.
Because you
and stuff.
slip into
I'm
a
still
coma in that
flashing
meal.
back pleasantly to that meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still full. Yeah,
She made us like 2 weeks worth of leftovers.
I am
all
still
at
full
once.
from that meal.
Yeah, all those meatballs that are about the size of like the end of my microphone here, just like a little smaller than a baseball.
I mean, we basically had that stereotypical Goodfellas Italian meal that you
Well, she
show
saw
up
us
at the
coming
mother's
over for
house and
dinner
she
as a
just
challenge.
heats up everything in the fridge for you.
Yeah.
And
I
we
will
were
fill these
defeated.
boys up. Yeah, and yeah, she
I've
definitely
gone
won.
blind.
You see her up there cracking her knuckles. She's like, "Bring it
All
on."
right. Yeah, good question.
Good question.
It
Good
is about
memories.
that time.
All right, so with the random question done, is it now about that time?
This weekend, music, movies.
Then Josh dubstep intro.
And sports. I love that so much.
I love
Right.
how much that makes Joel laugh, where he's laughing in concert with him
All
laughing.
right, so this week we're going with September 17th,
much. It makes me
1983, were the
All right.
pilot of the original D&D cartoon.
All right. So music. The number one song in the land was
That's the one
Maniac
from
by Michael
Footloose, right?
Cimbello.
No, not Footloose. Flashdance. Yes. Wow, that was a lot earlier than I thought it was.
Yes.
Anyway,
She's a maniac. Maniac.
gonna dump this water all
Dancing
over
like
the
she
floor.
never danced before.
Damn
All right. What, Patrick?
I just didn't realize that was muted as I'm going.
Why are you ignoring me?
Flash dance, and things like that. So.
I gotcha. And now for the reason I'm high on heroin, for my method podcasting moment. The next bullet point. Amy Jane Winehouse, born September 14th, was a British singer and songwriter. She was known for her deep, expressive contralto vocals and her eclectic mix of musical genres, including soul, rhythm, and blues and jazz. At the 50th Grammy Awards in 2008, she won 5 awards, tying the then record for the most wins by a female artist in a single night. Winehouse was plagued by drug and alcohol addiction. She died of alcohol poisoning on July 23rd, 2011, at the age of 27. Absorbed. Yeah, that was a waste, man.
Yeah. I mean, I remember everybody
her stuff
being
was
really
great.
snarky after she died, but like she was really a talented artist.
So, Josh, I know a contralto is not two dudes that fight aliens in a
Contralto.
jungle. What's a contralto?
Contralto.
What is that?
It is you're familiar with, you got soprano, alto.
Yeah.
I believe a contralto is either between a soprano and an alto or just a little lower than an alto.
Okay.
It's-
so
yeah,
kind
it
of
is
like a
less-
baritone is to a tenor?
Yeah, bass. Well, actually, it's closer to a bass. It's a little lower than an alto. I just Googled it.
Okay. I just have never heard that before, obviously, since I'm fucking up the pronunciation.
Well, and it's not so common because, like, if you're in a choir, you're not going to have people like assigned to the contralto role. So, but yeah, it's a classical female singing voice term
Okay.
for the lowest range.
I'm learning something. I'm learning. All right.
Me
moving
too.
on.
I wasn't sure. I thought it might be more like a baritone, but it's more like a bass.
Well, out of the four of us, I figured you were the best one to ask. So, the Everly Brothers reunion concert at the Royal Albert Hall in London on September 23rd ended their 10-year-long solo careers. The concert was recorded for a live LP, and the brothers returned to the studio as a duo for the first time in over a decade, recording the album EB84. The lead single, and acronym of the week, was OTWOAN,
Pretty sure that stands for one tiny wiener or a nipple?
It's got the longest nipples I've ever seen. No, those are
It's pretty tiny
wieners.
wiener.
Oh, that poor man. That poor
You can
poor
milk
man.
them both.
No,
know
that
that
is
song.
actually On the Wings of a Nightingale.
Ah.
Yeah, you're not
I
missing
don't know that
much.
one either. This song that Patrick just mentioned was written and composed by Paul McCartney. Returned them to the U.S. Hot 100 for their last appearance.
Yeah.
Last appearance, not first.
Big difference.
Yes, very big difference for the Everly Brothers, who'd made several appearances, I'm sure.
Well, just in general, there's a big difference between the words first and last. I mean,
Right? Like a contra alto.
Jesus. All right, moving on. Oh, I can't
All right.
move on. He's still got one more.
I got one more, baby. All right. Making the decision to unmask in promotion for their upcoming album, Lig It Up, the members of KISS appeared without makeup for the first time for an MTV special on September 18th.
Yeah.
I remember
should
that
probably
was
put
such
the
a
makeup
big
back
deal,
on.
and everyone was like, "Holy shit, they look like that."
yeah.
What? Who let their Jewish mothers on stage? Wow, they are not very metal. I'd say they're not even metal at
I
all.
knew it.
Yeah, I mean, it was obligatory.
Yep.
One of us had to. All right, moving on to movies. Short movies this week. We've got the number one movie in the land, which was the fantastic Michael
That's
Keaton
a
and
good
Terry
movie.
Garr comedy, Mr.
Would you use a
Mom.
38?
I like that movie.
38, 13.
Yeah.
38, 39, whatever.
Whatever it takes.
Anything with Michael Keaton, I'm happy.
Movies released this week included Heat and Dust, Strange Invaders, Who Dares Wins, Cross Creek,
I
and
have
Educating Rita.
seen Educating
and I've seen
Rita,
none of
I'm
those.
pretty sure.
Same.
I know that one. I don't know if I've seen it.
No,
Oh,
no.
Strange Invaders. is
Spaced
that
Invaders.
It's like a
Oh,
alien.
No,
know,
that's Space
comedy.
Spaced Invaders. Space.
Oh,
Educating Rita,
Strange
starring
Invaders. I don't know any of these. I know Educating
Michael
Readers,
Caine.
but Reader.
Julie Walters. An alcoholic professor has been hired by a working-class girl for higher education. Yeah.
I remember us now talking about this when we did
Yep,
the
that was
Michael
me.
Caine show.
It was good. I mean,
But I think Mike was
Caine.
the only one who watched it.
Sexy Michael Caine. Strange Invaders. Alien beings whose settlement in a small Midwestern town are disturbed by a young professor determined to rescue his son from their clutches. Starring Nancy Allen, Michael Lerner, Paul LeMat, Louise
I've
Fletcher,
seen this.
Wallace Shawn, June
Yep.
Lockhart.
The only reason it's awful. The only reason I've seen
Have
this
you?
is because rentals were
It
free
looks
when I worked at the video
terrible.
store. Yeah, I know that. I know that poster.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. All right, so TV top
The rest
shows
of
in
them I
the
don't care
land
about.
were Dallas, 60 Minutes,
Yuck.
Dynasty, and the A Team. Yeah, man, 60 Minutes is pops up
That's right.
from then to now, doesn't it? What are you doing? What was that? Oh, I thought you were trying to
It
call
does.
a very small dog.
The little stopwatch at the
Little
beginning of
clock,
60
yeah.
minutes.
Hardcastle and McCormick, and
I thought he was giving a blowjob to a hummingbird.
Oh, no, that's like this.
yeah. All right, so Hardcastle and McCormick. How do I mute him? Nope.
Yep, you deserve that one.
An action crime drama series that aired on September 18th starred Brian Keith as Judge Milton C. Hardcastle and Daniel Hugh Kelly as ex-con and race car driver Mark Skid McCormick.
I liked that show.
I don't remember this show, but this is on the list of shows from the 80s that I
I think-
firmly believe if I watched now, I would enjoy quite
I'm
a
pretty
bit.
sure I've seen this one.
I've
It
never
was
seen it.
fun. Although I don't remember him being Skid Mark.
He's not Skid Mark. He's Mark Skid.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know, but
you
I
know
don't-
why I
the-
remember this? I
it's
remember
still
the
Skid
car.
Mark.
The Coyote. Yep.
The fucking car, right? It was another one of those
Yeah,
shows that had a
car's gonna jump
badass
some
car.
this
and
week, you
you
know
didn't
that.
care about the rest of it. You just wanted to watch the car.
Also,
do shit,
September 17th, Alvin and the Chipmunks debuted.
right?
So there you go, I guess. Margaret Grace Denig is an American actress and model. She is known for playing Shannon Rutherford on Lost, Kim Mills in the Taken trilogy, Irina in the Twilight Saga, and Althea Sheshwick-Przgolki in Fear the Walking Dead.
And if you're not sure who she is, it's probably because she's better known as Maggie Grace.
Yeah. And she was also born this week. is
There
the
you
fact
go.
It's missing in that sentence. All right, and moving on to sports. A controversial cricket record was set by Steve O'Shaughnessy on the last day of the season, September 13th. Manufactured declarations and part-time bowlers serving up full tosses were a feature of the county championship when matches were 3 days long. Any weather disruption or even a flat track meant that to get a result, captains often had to resort to stretching the regulations to the limit. It is widely agreed that any records established during such exercises are void, but runs scored and conceded do count for or against the players. That's when Steve O'Shaughnessy, a 22-year-old Lancashire all-rounder, smashed a century in 35 minutes, equaling the 63-year-old record set by Percy Fender for the fastest 100 in terms of time. Due to several odd events, he was able to break the record against league-qualified but bottom-of-the-barrel bowlers.
That's
and in meaningless play while most spectators had
broke
left
this
for the
record,
day.
but due to everything going on, we're not going to write it down.
Huh.
And they're like, yeah, it's really. I mean, it would be kind of like if somebody came along and beat Wilt Chamberlain's score because a record of 120, 100 points in a game in basketball because they put in, a bunch of college players against him
Some
instead
new
of
words in
regular
there
players.
too. Manufactured declarations. Not sure what that means.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically this whole thing was supposed to be a 3-day event, and it didn't even start until the middle of day 2.
Huh.
Yeah, and like they thought that the whole thing was over, and then they decided, no, we're gonna exercise our right to go to bat, even though they were behind by so many. Normally it's just you just forfeit, and then the guy, they were like, well, here's some guys that are just will throw against you,
but it was against
and
a
he stepped up
trash
and
team.
in like 35 minutes scored 100 runs.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
So it's technically a record, but it's a controversial one in cricket. And then lastly in sports, on September 13th, the Oakland A's Ricky Henderson recorded his third straight season of 100 steals, only the third player to ever do so.
It's
Play us
weirder
off.
to me that there were 2 other people who did that before him.
Well, if I took Lou Brock and Ty Cobb, I don't know if you know those names.
Okay, well, Ty Cobb, yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, Lou Brock was Ricky Henderson before Ricky Henderson. He had all the base stealing records. He basically, Ty Cobb set all the records. Lou Brock came along and broke all the records, and then Ricky Henderson came along and broke all those records.
Cool.
So, yeah. Anyway, play us off, Keyboard Joel.
No.
So, 1983, just before the Satanic Panic took full grip of the nation.
Oh, we'll come back to that shit if you didn't in the trivia.
Oh, yeah. So, so they decided, you know what kids need on a Saturday morning? A Dungeons & Dragons cartoon. Ooh. And we kind of did. It was from 83 to 85. Dungeons & Dragons, the animated show, was based on TSR's D&D game, obviously. Co-produced by Marvel Productions and TSR, the show ran from 83 to 85 for 3 seasons on CBS for 27 episodes. Toei Animation did the animation for the series. You definitely know...
Toei Animation.
Yeah, Toei Animation. Number one thing that they've done recently, One Piece, Dragon Ball.
They're basically printing money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And have been.
They do Dragon Quest, Digimon, and Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir, which is a weird French show. My kids love that one. Also, an advanced Dungeons & Dragons toy line was produced by LJN in 1983, including original characters such as Warduke, Strongheart the Paladin, and the evil wizard Kellic, who would later appear in campaigns in the basic edition of the role-playing game. None of the main characters from the TV series were included in the toy line, but the connection does exist as Warduke, Strongheart, and Kellic each appeared in one episode of the series.
I owned the Warduke figure, and Warduke has been restatted for 5th edition.
Really?
Yeah. Fairly recently, too, like within the last year.
I had Strongheart.
It's interesting. I was watching a thing about this that they said that, typically, the toy lines come before or after, but in this case, everything was kind of simultaneous. So they, I think they said they didn't have the license to them initially, so that they put them into the show to try and help kind of boost sales and vice versa. But yeah, 1 episode each. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
Lame.
And Warduke has a pretty cool design with the blue Batwing helmet, the red eyes. I mean, his body's basically just He-Man, but he's got the badass magic sword and shield with the angry face on it.
Mm-hmm. I remembered that one when I saw them show it on the video I was watching. I was like, hey, I remember that toy.
Yeah,
I didn't have it though.
This was directed by John Gibbs for 27 episodes, who did G.I. Joe and Gem after this. So it definitely carried his career forward. Ryan Need is listed on here as being a director, music, voice of Venger the Redeemed. Requiem the Final is the unofficial last episode of this show.
I watched it, by the way.
Yeah,
in case you guys didn't.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. Bob Richardson, who did a lot of work on like the Pink Panther and stuff, is uncredited, but also helped out with 13 episodes. So
Nice.
on the writing credits. Now, the writing credits, I kind of dug into this one because these people went on to do a lot of cool stuff. So Kevin Paul Coates was writer for 27 episodes, and he did Battle of the Planets also.
Yeah, he was like the showrunner.
Yeah, which Battle of the Planets is one of my favorite.
Have we revisited it, though?
No.
Like Voltron? Because we like Voltron, too.
I don't think they've done a Battle of the Planets remake.
No, but I'm a little nervous to go back.
I know, right? But, I mean, who doesn't like, well, all the weirdness?
Fucking Gotcha Man. Come on.
I know, right?
I was definitely nervous to come back to this one.
Mm-hmm.
I got
Because
thoughts.
this was one that I really liked when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark Evener, another writer who went on to do stuff with Pryor's Place.
Yes, my pick for the show we bring back from our 400th episode.
Richard Pryor, yes. Richard Pryor, you know what? Let's give him a kid's show in the mid-'70s. Sounds great. It was actually not that bad. And then Superman, the animated series. Dennis Marks would eventually do Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Carl Gears would go on to do Flash Gordon. Hank Saroyan, Muppet Babies. Jeffrey Scott went on to do Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Michael Reeves, another writer for 8 episodes. Spider-Man Unlimited, Gargoyles, and Batman the Animated Series. Catherine Lawrence did X-Men Evolution. Paul Dini, you may know his name because he's kind of all over the place, but he went on to do Batman the Animated Series and also wrote for Lost.
Yeah, he's a big name.
Yeah, I know that name.
Right now he is doing a TV series called Arkham Tales of the Dark Knight.
Nice.
So, but he sticks with the Batman thing, which is cool. Buzz Dixon, Batman the Animated Series, Steve Gerber, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the movies, and What If, the TV show. He did the What If Thor was a only child, and the T'Challa Black Panther episodes.
Nice.
Yeah. Kimmer Ringwald was a writer eventually for Jake and the Fat Man, Baywatch and Baywatch Nights.
Oh.
Well, I know.
You had me there for a minute.
Michael Cassett went on to do Z Nation, which wasn't a really bad.
I've been wanting to see that.
Yeah, it's
Looked
pretty
like
good.
fun.
It was okay.
Michael DePatie would move on to do sound stuff on Transformers. So he basically wrote one episode of this and wanted to do sound work and editing. And Mark Shiney did something with the Gary Coleman Show.
Fucking animated series.
And also listed here as writers, Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax.
Who's
That's
that guy?
reasonable.
Yeah.
Gary who?
All right, so on the series cast for the voices, we've got Katie Lee doing Sheila the Thief. Also did the voice of Ralph from Muppet Babies. And then Frank Welker did the voice of Uni, the unicorn. Yep. If you do not know Frank Welker, he did Ralph the Guard on Animaniacs, the voice of Fred on Scooby-Doo, Curious George, The Cave of Wonders from Aladdin, the voice of Megatron and Soundwave, the voice of Azrael the Cat and the Smurfs, Astro on the Jetsons, Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget, and Kermit from the Muppet Babies.
Bring me the lamp.
He was also Scooby-Doo.
Was he also Scooby?
Yeah,
he took over.
And, yeah, that's the thing is, like, we've only scratched the surface with those credits. Dude is, like, one of the best-known voice actors. And we got another one coming.
And that's the thing. It's like I could have put, I could have literally filled out 3 pages on just his resume. Willie Ames as Hank the Ranger. And how do you know him? He's Buddy from Charles in Charge.
Nice.
So good on him. And then just to pair that up with some other weirdness, Don Most. You know that voice? Most? Don. He's the mostest. He's a Don with the mostest. Also did Ralph Malph from Happy Days.
Yep.
Presto the Magician was done by Adam Rich, who went on to do a show called Code Red about firefighters.
He was on 8 is Enough.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Was he?
8 is Enough, which is where I would have gone, yeah.
Oh, okay. I rolled forward. I didn't roll back.
Well, Code Red sounds like a show about Mountain Dew.
And I'll just
Never
It
mind.
It really did. That's what I when you said a show about ambulances or whatever you said, I was like, oh yeah, that makes more sense.
Actually, it's one of those movies they showed girls when they were learning about their changing bodies.
Oh my God. Okay.
Dude.
Mute. No. Also, Peter Cullen. This is the other resume. I put 3 of his biggest ones on here. Peter Cullen did the voice of Venger, also did the voice of Optimus Prime, Eeyore, and Monterey Jack. Monterey Jack for you, Josh.
Thank you. And when Venger started talking, I was like, holy shit, that's Peter Cullen.
Yep.
Like, it had been a while since I'd seen this, but as soon as Venger started talking, I knew who it was.
Yeah, I mean, in the last 10 years, his resume is Optimus Prime, Eeyore, Optimus Prime, Car from Knight Rider. You know, he's another one of those voice actor greats up there.
Like, imagine if you were a kid, if you could put that together. You're like, holy shit, Optimus Prime is the same, sounds exactly like Venger.
Yeah.
Venger?
Venger. I pulled a mic, I just looked up and saw the name and went,
Venger.
Hey, you do not get to make fun of me for mispronouncing something.
Hey, you threw me Polish names today, and I
know.
cruised right past those.
Yeah, I said that, and I said that to the guys when you were gone. I was like, I'm going to throw him some Polish names because he could do Polish and Japanese very well.
Can't do English real well, but Polish and Japanese.
I like how you got that in before any of us could.
Teddy Field III did Bobby the Barbarian. He also did the voice of Spike from the Mr. T TV show. Ooh. And voices on Starcade. Sidney Miller did the voice of Dungeon Master. And he's done tons and tons of additional, he's kind of like the studio musician for voice actors. Lots
or like the Hank Azaria type.
Yeah, lots of his stuff is like additional voices, background characters, one-shot characters from episodes. From his acting career, he played Hitler in the movie Which Way to the Front.
Yikes.
Somebody has to.
Well, I mean, it's a 1970s Jerry Lewis movie. I mean, not with him, but directed by him.
All right.
There you go.
So it's a period piece.
Right. And
that was another name for one of those movies that they showed.
Also, Tonya Gale Smith did the voice of Diana the Acrobat for all 27 episodes and went on to be fan number 1 from Facts of Life.
You take the good, you take the bad.
Now, I'm not being snarky about that. That's literally the only other thing that she has
that's her entire resume.
right there.
Yeah.
All right, so some trivia on this one. Although many people claim there was a final episode, it was never actually produced during the time this was out. The script, called Requiem, was finished in 2020 and is available online courtesy of Michael Reeves, who produced it as fan-made. In addition, the DVD box set release of the series includes a performance of the script as a radio play-style production.
And this, I said we were going to circle back to the Satanic Panic. This was canceled basically because of outcry, because of the D&D Satanic Panic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was canceled the second to last episode, the one that was going to set up Requiem, was out there, and they just didn't even get to finish filming or finish animating, producing Requiem.
Yeah, they just basically walked in wrap it up, boys, we're out.
I mean, that's why I worship my Lord and Savior, Satan, is because of playing D&D as a kid.
I thought it was because you were raised by Satanists.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, you forget about that. You know, it just kind of drifts.
Damn it.
Also, some trivia. Series developer Mark Evanier revealed that Eric's contrary nature was mandated by parents' groups and consultants to push the then-dominant pro-social moral for cartoons that the group is always right and the complainer is always wrong.
Good thing they pandered to those parents' groups. That really paid off for them 2 years later.
I know, right? That kind of set that one up. Also, in 1984, TSR released a board game named Quest for the Dungeon Master, inspired by the episode In Search of the Dungeon Master, in which the DM is captured by Warduke and frozen in a magic crystal, and the kids try to rescue him before Venger gets there. The Brazilian company Grow released a Portuguese-language version of this game in 1993.
Excuse me, it's Venger.
Venger Boys.
Veneger. And also some trivia about the character himself. After becoming an award-winning platinum-selling writer, producer, director, Willie Ames took a 5-year hiatus and became a 6-star cruise director, spending his time circling the globe and visiting over 127 countries.
Well, that was in between him playing his famous superhero role of Bible Man. That's not a joke.
Captain Buddy.
Wow.
Oh.
I just out of curiosity, I looked how much would it cost me to get a copy of Quest for the Dungeon Master as a piece of memorabilia? Any guess?
Quest for the Dungeon Master. I'm gonna
$250.
$250, $250 or $2.50?
$250.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 85.
I'll go 251.
You bastard.
I found one on eBay for $214.99.
Oh,
Oh,
Yes.
But
we
like,
both lose.
yeah, and this is the only one at this price. All the other ones are over $600.
oh my God!
Wow.
But I lose less.
Yes, that's
Good.
what we say every time we see you.
Yeah.
He loses less.
That's what everybody says when they see me. I lose less.
The thing is, I'm looking at this game, and in my head, I can see it on the shelf.
Okay, I found a used copy for only $140. Only.
Only.
Mike is saying he thinks he owns it.
No,
I'm
I'm
looking it
I'm
up.
100% sure that I don't own it.
I thought that's what you were saying.
No. I'm like, I remember seeing it. Like, I remember going to the store
What
and
the
seeing
fuck?
it.
Oh, I thought you meant on your own shelf.
Yeah, no.
What is wrong with Wenger's face?
Venger, goddammit.
Anyway, you look at the box cover. First of all, man, the art on the box cover is awful.
Well, they were probably trying to hustle it out before the panic kicked in totally.
I mean, they could have paid somebody who wasn't on drugs.
The board art's pretty bad, too. Dungeon Master looks slightly melty.
I just brought it up. Wow.
And
yes.
somebody forgot that Diana was supposed to be black.
Oh, wow. Yep. There she is at the top, looking
Yeah.
very non-African American. Yeah. They really just were like, quick, shit it out fast.
Maybe. Could have been the case.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So this show was. Oh wait, were we done with? Yes,
Yeah, that was
we
the
were
end of
done
the
with
trivia.
This show was pretty foundational for me because, like, I had owned all the D&D stuff, but barely got to play. But like, I didn't remember a whole lot of the episodes, despite the fact that an image from the first episode of Dungeon Master is literally the lock screen on my phone and has been for over a decade. But even though I didn't remember details from the episodes, every time the opening sequence came by, I got such a nostalgia hit.
Oh, when he starts rattling off the class names?
Yeah, well, even from the beginning, it's like, look, it's a Dungeons & Dragons ride. And then, like, every moment on that ride, I don't like this.
Oh, please. Yeah, that... First off, if I went to a theme park and there was a D&D ride, I would be on it all day.
Yes.
That thing honestly looked like a bunch of fun. And yeah, hearing the opening music and that that almost like triumphant noise at the end. Now, honestly, I'm wondering about what sort of scenario the DM puts them in where they meet up with Tiamat right off the bat and then get attacked by Venger as the second one.
And he doesn't give them a cleric, instead gives them an acrobat.
Right. Like there's definitely a healer missing from this team.
Yeah, you've got 2 rogue archetypes, no healer. And a cavalier who doesn't get a mount.
And actually, you know, it sounds kind of right.
But it's exactly like Josh said at the beginning. You know, this is like the campaign you run when you're a kid and you don't understand how, like, you know, reality works. Mm-hmm. And like the very first campaign, you're like, well, I don't want them to just meet some robbers. We got to meet somebody bad. Who's the baddest guy? Ooh, Tiamat. All right, we'll have him run into him. And he doesn't just immediately squash them because they're all first level.
And Eric is the kid who you have to play with because your mom won't let you kick him out of the game.
Right.
Yep. I definitely noticed that there was a swing up in the episodes. Like things got a little bit more risky after season 2.
100%. They started to push into the, hey, what if we actually develop some darker fantasy themes and develop these characters instead of just doing moral of the week, bog standard Saturday morning cartoon. And yeah, the quality kicks up real heavy by about I'd say actually first episode of season 2.
Mm-hmm. Now, first, I know I normally ask this, but I'm assuming that it's not the case for us. But this isn't a first viewing for anybody, is it?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's what.
No,
Not
I had
for
pretty
me.
much the same experience as Josh, where knew all about D&D, had the books, wrote a bunch of adventures, didn't really have anybody to play with, and when this came out, it was like, oh.
Mm-hmm. And some of the episodes, like The City at the Edge of Midnight, where the kids get stolen. Did you guys watch that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy-duty crap. I mean, and they get so close to leaving because they wind up with a kid that they all know gets stolen, and they're like, you have to let people know what's going on. We're trapped here. Tell my parents. Tell people that we're trapped here. And he's like, this is a dream. Nah.
Well, then there's the episode that generated the most complaints, which is what started the Satanic Panic getting pointed at this show. It's near the end of the third season where the kids are debating whether or not to murder Venger to make sure that he stops coming after them.
Hey, but you know what?
That's not a bad plan.
That's a thing, you know?
Well, that's where I learned about coup de grace was Saturday morning cartoons.
Now, I like the first episode of season 3, The Dungeon at the Heart of Dawn.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly was one of my, I think I even put it in the show notes before, it was the gang summons Satan. And it's like they get a hold of his chest, and Eric decides that he's going to look into the chest and see what's in there, opens it, and releases the evil that makes Venger nervous. That
isn't Tiamat.
That isn't Tiamat. That's Boss and Venger around. And the whole plotline, I mean, the Dungeon Master almost dies. Everybody loses their weapons. They have to get Dungeon Master back to the Heart of Dawn to get his powers back and all that. And it's like, I was thinking to myself, for Saturday morning cartoons,
yeah,
there's a lot of drama. There's a lot going on here.
It's not the type of obstacles you normally see characters encounter on a Saturday morning.
Right.
Like, normally it isn't like, oh, we have to get the spice from Gargamel's cabinet.
Right. Watch out for the cat.
The other thing I noticed is because they wanted to show off everybody's skill set at least once per episode, it seemed like they decided to highlight Diana so much because they're like, what the fuck do we do with an acrobat? That she felt in a lot of episodes like the most powerful one out of all of them. Like her bow staff or telescoping magic weapon could do pretty much whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I agree with you on that one because I think acrobat they could. I mean, cleric. If they put a cleric into this one, it would have been like, that's it, run off. Don't. I'll just be here when you get damaged to heal you. I'll sit back and do that. But I think you are right that they was kind of like just one of those things to show off. Like there was one episode where they were herding these camel horse monsters. And she was able to use her staff to drive him into a river valley where they weren't able to get to attack him or something like that. But you're right, they kind of threw I don't want to say a specialty skill to everybody once in a while.
Yeah, I mean Sheila would always do the I appear somewhere, the monsters stupidly go towards me, and I vanish. That was every single episode.
Did you notice that they never called Sheila the thief in the show itself? It was only in the opening credits.
I did not.
Yeah, they never called her the thief. They always, even Dungeon Master, when he would talk to Eric, he wouldn't say Eric, he would say Cavalier, that sort of thing. He always called Sheila by her first name.
Interesting.
Kind of weird, but sure. The Odyssey of the 12th Talisman, that was another one that I watched.
I'm curious, because you already kind of singled out a favorite episode. Do others of us have them?
I don't know that I have a favorite episode per se, but I came into this expecting it to be another Voltron situation, and I gotta admit, I was kind of pleasantly surprised, even though there was a lot of wash, repeat, rinse, whatever type of mentality to the show. It was still a lot of fun, and a lot of shit that, like you guys were saying, isn't standard Saturday morning fare. So it did bug me a little bit that the character classes weren't all actual D&D character classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were kind of. I mean, they were basically first edition, second edition kits for the Acrobat, because Thief Acrobat and Cavalier would be optional as well. So it's not like they weren't classes at all. They just weren't basic player's handbook classes.
Cavalier was the pre-Paladin, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Basically,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. She shows what I know. But no, I don't know that I have a favorite episode. I ended up watching about 10, which at some point I want to talk about Requiem if you guys haven't seen it. But what about you, Pat?
I 100% do not have a favorite episode because I only got to watch 4 episodes because this was a bad week. Another bad week because all the weeks are bad. But yeah, I only got to watch 4 episodes. I had plans to watch many more today, and it didn't go well. So
the 4 that you watched, which ones were those?
There you go.
The first 4. I started with the pilot and just
okay. I mean, there's some good ones in those first couple, but I mean, my favorite is the traditional favorite. It's the second season, episode 5, Day of the Dungeon Master, where basically Eric is talking shit about how great it would be to be Dungeon Master, his job so easy. And Dungeon Master's like, cool, you've got all my powers, I'm going on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about this is, it's one of the few where Eric is just not a total douche. like, he's actually not bad at being the dungeon master. He's still a little annoying, but it's actually one of the few where he is one of the best parts of the episode instead of the worst.
Huh. I kind of wish I would have watched that one.
It's a good episode.
It's worth 20 minutes, like, if you've got it in your week. Like, I would say it's legitimately worth it, even if you're not talking about the show on the podcast. It's far and away my favorite.
One of the other things that I enjoyed is them throwing in D&D monsters into this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first, I mean, right out of the gates, I mean, the second episode, Eye of the Beholder, which eventually became a video game. And I think it was a module also, wasn't it?
I believe you're correct.
Yeah. But the catch is on this. Yes, Eye of the Beholder, very cool. You've got the Beholder who's turned this whole valley into a awful, desolate landscape. And how do they defeat it? By showing it a flower.
Yep.
I remember,
how it works.
even then, I remember watching it going,
What?
That's not right. I've had characters die against beholders.
Yeah, I'm going to go on record and say that's not going to work in my campaign.
Just carry flowers around just in case we see a beholder. Look at the flower, and then it melts.
Well, and it kind of occurs to me, like, no matter how dangerous it is, until you get deep into the third season, the kids never really take any hits, so the cleric would have been bored.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this. The Winds of Darkness, the very last show that aired, that one was friggin' terrifying for kids, I bet. Because right out of the gate, the ranger, what's his
Hank.
Hank.
Yeah.
Hank just gets, like, absorbed and destroyed by this monster. This kind of like the fog.
The Darkling.
Yeah, the Darkling looks like a scarecrow. Like Scarecrow from Batman comes in and he's stealing children and stealing people and bringing them over. And once he gets the right amount of people, he can take over the world type of thing. And you've got Hank, who's like the hero, the leader, that sort of thing. And right out of the gates, he's gone. And I was like, again, for 1983 kids cartoon, that's pretty ballsy. You know, there's actually a risk there for them.
It's a lot more intense than most Saturday morning cartoons, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, Joel,
it definitely
you
had its
listen-
moments.
Oh,
Sorry.
Joel, you listened to the audio play of the final episode. So I know the plot, but I want to hear from you since you've actually gone through it.
Well, it was interesting because apparently there was at least a mini comic book version that was made of the episode as well. But they got some pretty big names, including the original actress who played, I believe it was one who played Sheila. But Venger and the Dungeon Master meet up and they make a deal that if they're going to put the kids through hell and Dungeon Master can't help them at all, and if they win, then he'll get them the option to go home. But if they lose, they die. And Dungeon Master agrees. So kids go off. They end up splitting up into two different groups because they can't determine, if they're going to trust Venger, because he's the one that's like, here's the deal. If you get to the end of this thing and whatever, you can go home. So off they go, but they splinter off into two different groups and they end up kind of going against each other to some extent. They get to this final castle thing, and as they're going through it, they find this key, and Venger tells them that when they find the key, they got to throw it into this portal, and then that will get them home. Well, there's a sarcophagus in there that looks like Venger, but if he was handsome, younger, and, not evil. So they're kind of fighting against this giant tentacle monster, and they've got the key, and I forget his name. Hank is thrown off the ledge into the abyss thing, and Eric's the one who's got to make up the decision of what to do, whether he trusts to throw the key in there, or whether he uses it on a lock that he saw. And he decides to open the lock. Venger's not happy about it. He opens the lock, and it turns out that Venger actually was under like a spell, turns back into this handsome young lad, and it's the Dungeon Master's son. Shock horror. Then the portal opens, and they're like, okay, you can go home now if you want. And the fucking ending, it's ambiguous. They look out and they see that, all these portals have opened up, and all the people that were there that were trapped in the giant universe that's basically a dungeon. All of the characters in the universe were there trapped, so they all get portals to go home, but they're still evil there. So Dungeon Master's like, you can stay and help, or you can go home, and they never say whether they actually go home or not. I'm like, what? So
I think that's a pretty good ending.
They end it with them like giving the wink and a nod to each other, or are they just
Like whether they're gonna, they ended on them going, "Hey, are we staying or are we going?" And they don't make the decision. They just cut the credits or kind of thing.
yeah.
basically, yeah.
You can believe that they finally went home, or they continued to go on adventures. But either way, it was
I
their
kind of like
decision.
that. Yeah, it's their decision in canon, and it's your decision in your mind what they did.
But yeah, Venger is Dungeon Master's son, and that's the one thing he couldn't do. He couldn't fix the fact that he had been turned evil.
Huh.
So the kids did it for him by risking their lives. He's saying, here, if they die, they die, but they can still help me.
Huh.
But yeah.
'Twas love that cured him.
That's kinda
Everybody was
crazy.
trapped. All the lizard people that were the bad guys, all the people that they run into throughout the episodes, all trapped there.
I also have to call out, we know he's a brilliant voice actor, but Frank Welker is the only reason Uni was not completely insufferable.
No, Uni was actually a lot better than most team pets.
Right, like Orko or whatever. But I was
Uni
just amazed.
He was Scrappy-Doo light.
Nah, I wouldn't even say that because Scrappy Doo was useless. Uni eventually got magic and turned out to be more helpful than Sorcerer.
But, you look at the design, he looks like he's from a different show. He's got the My Little Pony, winged eyeliner thing going. But it's the voice acting, I think, that made Uni charming, even looking back. And I was, like Patrick, I loved this show, and I was a little worried watching it now that I was going to ruin it for myself.
Well, the first time that you kind of get the opinion that Uni might be more than she appears is the one where Venger is capturing all the unicorns. Not Venger. One of his cronies is capturing unicorns because he wants to take over Venger's job, and he's capturing them because they can teleport. And Uni's the one that ends up saving the day, kind of.
Was that Shadow Demon again? Because Shadow Demon became more and more prevalent as the show went on.
I don't remember the character's name. I just know he was one of Venger's right-hand dudes. He was scared of him, but he was trying to take his job.
Yeah, he was like the Starscream of D&D.
Yes, yeah,
Gotcha.
If they ever do a reboot like Kevin Smith style, maybe Uni will be like Orko, where you love
Dude, I would love that.
Sorry, Mike.
So I'll say, someone get on that. Some of the other things that this helped launch, and I think things that we probably would not have seen in other forms of media that I think the cartoon kind of helped spawn. Does anybody else? I know Josh will remember the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons comic book.
Oh yeah,
made by TSR, and I just looked it up, and I'm like, man. If 1988 me knew me now, would have not carried his comic books all around with him in his bag like he did back then, because a very fine version of that comic runs at $150.
And that kind of makes sense, because 88 would have been around the time where TSR started to make a few too many weird decisions. And by the 90s, which is when I had a first big burst of playing D&D after we all got out of Shadowrun and decided to play D&D again. And then I got into RPGA, yada yada. TSR was in a lot of trouble setting up for the eventual Wizards of the Coast acquisition.
Yeah, they did some weird stuff. There was some I don't want to say wacky, but there was a lot of throw it at the wall and see if it sticks type of thing.
Like the Encyclopedia Magica books, which were embossed leather bound, and they literally cost more to manufacture than they retailed for.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yeah, I have a full set of those.
Yeah,
they're real nice books.
Yeah,
but,
I have them too. They're awesome. Yeah. And it was a bargain.
Yeah, but not for TSR.
Please buy
TSR became a bargain.
Yeah, I actually have a copy of what was the name of the game? Green Things from Outer Space, somewhere from TSR.
No, Awful Green Things from Outer Space was Steve Jackson.
Oh, it was Steve Jackson?
Yeah, it was originally produced in the pages of Dragon magazine, but it was a Steve Jackson joint.
Okay, all right. So I think we kind of filled this one out.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about D&D really in depth for 300 episodes, and it's a big part of all of our lives. So, yeah, I'm glad to do this, and I'm excited to talk about the second half, which, spoiler, is my favorite thing on TV.
Nice. All right, we're going to be back in a little bit, and we're going to be talking about Vox Machina, which is out on Amazon Prime. So stick around. We'll be back in a little bit. All right, So we are back, and now we're going to talk about The Legend of Vox Machina. This just came out in 2022, and it is part of the I don't want to say resurgence, because I don't want to say there was ever a surge, but acceptance.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like a lot of people our age don't realize that D&D is bigger now than it ever has been, even in the early 80s.
Oh, I 100% agree with you.
Nerds have gone mainstream.
Yeah. And that was not true when 3rd edition first came out, and a lot of us thought it was, but it was like, no, it was still bigger in the 80s. Critical Role, in a lot of ways, contributed. Critical Role, Twitch, and 5th edition made D&D bigger now than it has literally ever been.
This is the way that I know it's bigger now, is because when I tell people now that I play Dungeons and Dragons or I run a Dungeons and Dragons game or any of that kind of stuff, I don't have to explain what Dungeons and Dragons is anymore. They're just like, oh, okay, so you're a nerd. Like it used to be, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Well, what is that? Then you explain it, and then they go, oh, you're a nerd.
Yeah.
Now they just, oh, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, you're a nerd.
Or back in 1986, I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll pray for you.
Yeah, that was yeah. I got that a lot.
I got that a lot.
Accurate.
That was why I was one of the black sheep of the DCE program, because I listened to secular music and played Dungeons and Dragons.
You and me both, brother.
Yep.
All right. So, Legend of Vox Machina. It's a fantasy streaming animated series produced by Critical Role and Titmouse Incorporated and Amazon Studios. It showed up on January 28th, 2022, based on a campaign from the D&D web series called Critical Role that Josh was just talking about. It's set in Exandria, a world created by Matthew Mercer back in 2012 for his own D&D game. And eventually they launched it as actual play web series in 2015 called Critical Role. It takes place on the continent of Tal'Dorai, all the way from like the city-state of Whitestone to the city metropolis of Amman. They actually started it with a Kickstarter in an attempt to raise $750,000 in 45 days so they can get a single half-hour animated episode out. Or organizations and TV studios didn't have the confidence in a bunch of nerds doing something like that.
Whoops.
Yeah, I know, right? So 88,887 backers pledged $385,449 to help.
That's
bring
not
this
even
project
Roman
forward.
numerals, man.
Dude, English. If they had written these numbers in Polish, I would have been fine. So here's the thing, people. If you want to nerds have money.
We have a lot of disposable income.
Yeah, because we don't really do things.
We'd like to produce our own series, so you could disposable income this way, and we'll, make a series.
Yeah, so if you want to know about the 40 Going on 14 web series, we'll have a Kickstarter.
If we turn Rivelquin into like a Critical Role type thing, you're not involved in that, Joel.
Ooh. I think you broke him.
He has nothing to say.
I was talking about the 40 Going on 14 thing, but, whatever.
I would involve you somehow, Joel.
The other thing is this has already been renewed for a season 2.
Yep.
Like, by the time this episode goes live, the series finale will be out, because they've been doing them 3 episodes every Friday. So the night after we record this, the season finale will be out.
Yep, and I'm going to watch it.
No, there's 12 episodes in this
Spoilers.
season.
Yes.
Yeah, and they just did 9.
Episode 9 is the last one.
Correct. And 9
I
plus
get
3.
it.
And 3
Sorry,
will be
I forgot.
the final episode.
Fuck you all. I forgot we're ahead on our recordings.
Yeah.
I forgot my numbers. All right, so these are directed by Sung Jinan, who also did stuff like Nico and the Sword of Light and Deathstroke Knights and Dragons. Alicia Chan did a short. This is her first really big thing. Her other thing that she did is something called A Few Shy. Young Heller, this is his first director credit and has been a storyboard artist for a bunch of stuff. Just like the whole resume is nothing but storyboard art, which is great. Storyboard artists, I 100% think are unsung heroes of animation and movies and TV. You don't really hear a lot about them. Stanley von Medeve, which is a great name, did 3 episodes and did something, a TV series called L5. It's kind of like a sci-fi TV show. And Yu Wan Pang, who did 2 episodes and has also done Dota, Defense of the Ancients, Dragon's Blood, and a TV show called Magi Nation, based off the short-lived CCG. So a lot of talent there on the directing side. Now, on writing credits, we have Brandon Auman, who did episode 1 and 2, whose background also covers Blade Runner, Black Lotus, and a ton of episodes of Star Wars Resistance, which I have not watched, but it looks like something I would enjoy. Mark Bernardin did the episode of A Silver Tongue, and is also written for Castle Rock and Treadstone. Have any?
I didn't even know that existed until this, just like a week ago. I was like, Treadstone, they did a show about the Bourne Identity program?
Yeah, it's kind of like, all these sleeper cells all of a sudden wake up across the world. I want to watch it. Have you watched
literally
any of it?
what it is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Came out like 4 or 5 years ago. It lasted a season, and that was it.
Ashley Birch did the episode Shadows at the Gate, and while she has a lot of other things, the thing that she's known most for is the voice of Tiny Tina from the Borderlands series.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't watch her back in the day on Hey Ash, What You Playin', she's also one of the big series regulars on, the Apple TV. I'm blanking. I just started watching it. The MMO, The Office, but it's an MMO. Mythic Quest.
I know what you. Yes, I was just going to say, I know what you're talking about.
Mythic Quest?
Yeah, with Rob McElhenney, and it's created by Rob McElhenney and Charlie Day, but it's Rob McElhenney, Ashley Birch, and a few other people who you would know.
That sounds like something I would watch.
Yeah, F. Murray Abraham's in it. Anyway.
Okay. So also, Kevin Burke did the episode Tie to Bone, and he's also written for a Spider-Man TV series back in 2017. May Katz did Spark of Rebellion, has also done Transformers Cyberverse for staff writer for a 39 episode. Jennifer Muro did Fate's Journey, and did 4 episodes of Wacky Races.
Nice.
I did not know that they redid Wacky Races. So we need to put that on the list, because I used to love Wacky Races. Sam Riegel did the episode Skenbo, and also did All Work, No Play, which is basically the Critical Role people hanging out and getting into shenanigans. Mm-hmm. Eugene Sun did Feast of Realms and was writer for Avengers Assemble TV series. Travis Willingham also involved in Scanbo and does the voice of Grog in the actual show. Yeah, and
Sam Riegel is the voice of Scanlan Shorthalt.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
And Chris Wyatt did Tide of Bone and was a writer for Chico Bon Bon, Monkey with a Tool Belt.
Chico Bon Bon, Chico Bon Bon.
Which sounds like something I need to at least look into.
I think you totally need to. So it's kind of like, imagine if Bob the Builder was a monkey. So it's kind of trippy.
Like home improvement, but with like tiny primates.
Yeah, kind of that. Also, voices. Laura Bailey does the voice of Vex. Taliesin Jaff does the voice of Percival Del Rollo, Percy. Ashley Johnson does the voice of Pike Trickfoot. Liam O'Brien does the voice of Vaxilin Vassar, the brother of Vex, the twin brother of Vex. Marisha Ray does Kyleth. Sam Riegel does the voice of Scanlan. Travis Willingham is Grog. And Matthew Mercer does the voice of Sylvis Briarwood, among other names.
Yeah, among lots of others.
Yeah. So some trivia on this one. So Vox Machina notoriously had a very hard time opening doors during their adventures and campaign. Scanlan, Pike, and Kyleth struggling to open the doors in episode 1 is a nod to this. Keyleth, sorry.
I only know because I would have called her Kaleth, except Vax is constantly calling her Kiki.
Oh, okay. Since Matthew Mercer was the campaign DM without an actual player character, he voices many characters from villages and guards to Sylvis Briarwood. One guard also looks like an animated version of Matt, leading many fans to play Spot Matt during each episode. So that's kind of cool.
It's a hidden Easter egg that there's a character that is drawn to look like him in every episode.
Nice.
Yeah. Hidden in every episode is an element: boulders, sun, reflections, crystals, or gems that all make the form of a 20-sided die.
Nice.
So that's kind of another scavenger hunt type of thing. And there's also a ton of in-jokes in this show. This is a show written by nerds for nerds. So you have the Nimbus 2000 and the Jester's Weasel Trickster God on the shop floor of Gilmore's Goods, and the small rug on the floor of Krieg's the Blue Dragon office in the one episode, no spoilers. But the rug has a multicolored 5-headed dragon on it, and therefore it is a Tiamat.
There's a bunch of stuff like this. Mike caught one that I gave him credit for in the first episode that third episode, that Vax's magic item is a one-eyed trouser snake.
Yep.
I didn't notice it had one eye. That's nice.
Yeah, it's wearing a little eye patch.
Yep.
The funny thing is I noticed the 5-headed dragon on the mat and even thought Tiamat, but I didn't put Tiamat together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the background of the magic item shop, there's also something that is very clearly Gary Gygax's sandals.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, it's well hidden, but like if you'd seen him back before he died, he was always wearing pretty distinctive sandals, and they're for sale in the magic shop.
Very cool.
And a Hawaiian shirt.
I saw the Hawaiian shirt.
A lot. Yeah.
And 2 hard-boiled eggs.
Now, for anybody getting into Vox Machina, and if you're not familiar with, now, I never watched Critical Role, but I like to think that I'm neck deep in nerd culture, that I can kind of like roll with the punches on things. But if you're watching Vox Machina because people at the office have talked about it, but you don't really play games, give it 3 episodes.
For sure. They definitely, in the first 2 episodes, want to accomplish 2 things. They want to establish this is not for your kids, and they want to make the characters slightly immature and shitty so they have room to grow.
Mm-hmm. And they 100% do it. I mean, the first episode is, I don't want to say the worst episode, but it's the worst behavior of the characters.
It tries a little hard to be edgy with all of the fucking and puking and gore and swearing.
There's a lot of puking in that episode.
And gore.
But like a lot of people tapped out after the second episode and don't understand why it's 100% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's because if the show was all like the first 2, I'd still probably like it. But once you get past the first 2 and into the third and subsequent, you start to see character growth and you understand how intelligently plotted this thing is.
Now, as our DM, Patrick and Josh, what's your take on it? Looking at it from DM's eyes.
Well, I will start off with the reason why I didn't make any like comments or jokes when Josh made his couch gag earlier about the first show being us running games as kids and this one being us running games as 30-year-olds. It's because that is just true. There was nothing funny about that. It was just poignantly true. I mean, this feels like a campaign, and I made a comment to one of the players in our campaign at one point. I was like, there are so many elements about this that feel like the game that I'm running. Mm-hmm. You know, the half giant, we have a half giant in our campaign. The snarky female archer who doesn't like anybody but herself, messing with everybody. I mean, the Percy is like a combination of Terran and Admin, 2 of the characters together. It's just a lot of parallels to an actual campaign, and it feels like a real D&D campaign because it was.
Yeah, and that was my take too, is of all of the adaptations of Dungeons & Dragons, like some of them might be better fantasy literature, this is the one that feels most like playing Dungeons & Dragons, and second place is not close.
Second place, in my opinion, would be Harmon Quest, but I know you guys haven't watched that. Harmon Quest is like this, but less gritty and more funny.
Although this does feel like the games that we used to play with Matt, and a couple of other friends in high school, where you go into the town and the first thing you do is you're like, oh, there's a tavern. Is there a girl there? I'd like to do her. And you're not really serious.
I want to do them.
There's elements of that in this, but it's so much deeper than that. But they kind of, get that out of the way. And like you said in the first episode.
Now, there is another group of people playing D&D that I know my girls watch. I think they have a whole series where it takes place at like a adventurer's school. It's got that redheaded dude as a DM.
There are a lot of real play streams, web series out there.
Ed Sheeran
Deborah Ann Woll runs one as well.
Ed Sheeran is not the one I'm thinking of. Nimrod.
Donnie Most?
Oh yeah, that's it. Not Critical Role, not Harmon Quest. Anyway, I'll think about it. But there's another one that my girls have gotten into. But it seems like there's a ton of these
Yeah, that's the thing is
They're
like
coming out.
it's depending on which one they decided to fall into, because like the ones that the average person would know would be Critical Role or the one that Deborah Ann Woll runs because it attracts other celebrities since she was in True Blood and on Daredevil.
And that's the other thing we want to toss out there, not you're bringing up the acting stuff. A ton of these people in Critical Role are voice actors.
Well, they all are.
They all of them are?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, but I think one of the things, I mean, I kind of went out browsing some of the forums and seeing what people were how people are talking about this thing. And one of the comments that I saw that I think really makes sense was, yes, it's great that this is getting people into D&D and tabletop role-playing games. That's fantastic. What it's bad, the bad portion of it is that you have new DMs that are going to come out and think their games are going to be just like Critical Role.
Well, yeah, there is the Matthew Mercer effect. And yeah, people got to realize that Matt Mercer, in addition to being the Peter Cullen of our time, in fact, he might be more prolific than Frank Welker or Peter Cullen at this point. He started doing big voice parts all the way back in Akira. He's been in Attack on Titan. He's been in, like, you look at his voice credit, it's absurd. He played Jesse McCree, who's been renamed in Overwatch. Like, he is a legend. And then you're thinking, oh, well, this guy's just a super talented improviser. But then you watch him on some of the other stuff and you realize that if there's a person on this planet that knows Dungeons & Dragons better than me, it's Matt Mercer. Dude knows his shit.
Have you seen that one clip that kind of got famous when he was on that one gaming nerd game show where they showed a panel, like it was a 4-page panel of a animated battle,
Yes,
like a storyboard battle, and they're like, what are all the different rules that are wrong in here? And they had 20 things intentionally wrong, and he found 22.
Yes.
And they're like, holy shit, he found things we didn't even know we were doing wrong.
Yep.
You know, as the one person out of the four of us that is a former gamer, doesn't really game anymore, but did it in, started to get into it in before high school, played it in high school, played it in college. I went into this thinking I wasn't really going to dig it. Like, I was like, it looks like it's, going to be a thing that I'm going to be like, it was all right. Spoiler, I really enjoyed this, and I don't laugh out loud at movies very often or shows, but one scene in particular where the little fucker, Scanlan, it takes a potion and he's breathing fire. I don't know why that made me laugh, but it did.
You know why? Because it was friggin' hilarious.
When he's trying to translate that book and he's talking about the zipper twat, that made me laugh.
I really enjoyed it. The animation is very nice. Of course, the voice acting is on point. And I legitimately was disappointed when I found out that there was still more episodes and I wasn't going to be able to finish it before this. I watched all 9 episodes, but I was like, damn it, there's no more. And I went and watched some of the episode, one of their old Critical Role, where they do it, the original.
Yeah, the game. Now, the guy who I was thinking of, and I think the guy that you're thinking of, Pat, that called out all the errors in the combat, because I'm the one who sent that video, Brennan Lee Mulligan is the redheaded guy that I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
He's the one who runs a game that's based out of a adventurer's school, and he is another one of those GMs that's like, oh my god, he must have forgotten where he lives because his brain is so full of D&D rules.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't Joe Manganiello run a game too that's online or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, it's not one that is a real play podcast or anything. It's one that is stacked with celebrities.
Yeah. And another person who we can thank for it is, Pat, help me, Josh, Pitch Black.
Vin
Diesel. Yeah. Vin Diesel, I mean, that dude.
He was one of the first, quote unquote cool celebrities to admit that he loved and still played D&D. Yeah.
Yeah, and he
one of the tattoos that he had in XXX, he designed after his favorite D&D character.
Nice.
He made a movie about it.
Yeah, I saw that movie.
Now it's been like 10 years since the average D&D player, like it used to look like me, a heavy-set middle-aged guy with long hair and a goatee. And that's not the stereotype anymore. Like, you look at how it's changed since the streaming era. And partially because of shows like Critical Role, the average D&D player is equally likely to be male or female. Gauged ears are going to be more common than a potbelly. tattoos are going to be more common than like Cheeto dust.
Or a trench
Everyone
coat.
still wears glasses.
Yeah. That's not changing anytime soon. And there's always going to be dice.
Yeah.
There's so much dice. I mean,
And once you start buying dice, you just, for some reason, you just can't stop.
Yeah, and I've done, like this last year, I've done some DMing myself, which I'm getting back into since I've recently discovered, I think, a game system that follows the way I play a little bit better, and that's Powered by the Apocalypse. I ran some D&D games with a group that watched Critical Role, and they totally wanted to do the same thing. And at one point I actually had to have a conversation with them, be like, look, I know what you're doing. You're not voice actors. Before we get into the drama, let's figure out how not to get killed by the troll first. Let's get some basic strategy down. Let's learn the rules. Let's, because I had everything in the game from my
This
character.
is tabletop. We're not LARPing.
Right. That's exactly it. I appreciated it. I was 100% behind them getting that in depth into the game. But at the same time, I'm like, none of you guys have played D&D before. Let's learn the rules. Let's get the basics down. I'm giving you.
There's also combat. We have to do combat.
We have to figure out combat. We have to figure out initiative. We have to figure out all these basic stuff, and then let's get into that. Let's get the baby steps in. And they were all right. We had to cut it. We had to cut the game short because someone had a kid. A lot of that like life stuff happened, but I agree with some of the people that have said that it's made it more accessible. I mean, and how do I put this in the framework? Half the people in that game were people from my church.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they're like, and if I had said to you, I'm playing a game of D&D with people from my church back in 1985,
they'd assume you were talking about the Church of Satan.
Exactly. That's exactly what the conversation would have been.
So
could it be Satan?
Satan?
There were a couple of changes here and a couple of interesting things that happened in the storytelling that were as a result of what actually happened in the game. They had to write a bunch of original songs for Scanlan Shorthalt because in general, Sam Riegel would basically on the fly do D&D versions of pop songs, which they obviously don't have access to.
Nice.
Also, during this arc of the campaign, Ashley Johnson was super busy and I believe pregnant. I could be wrong on the pregnant, but she's got a lot going on in terms of both voice acting and actual acting. So she was more drop in, drop out, which is why Pike was off on her quest to restore her faith and often just projecting in near the end of the series, she's doing appearing to them in a vision. They would have to do that because Ashley might have to Skype in for one session.
Got it.
She wouldn't be physically present.
Astral projection.
Astral projection. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. But that's because Ashley was not physically present at the table for quite a bit through the Briarstone arc.
Okay. All in all, I'm 100% behind this, and Suzanne's actually watching it with me. Suzanne, those of you on the podcast listening to this she's my wife, did not know she was a nerd until after she met me. And God help her, she had, her magic deck that was called These Are the Cards I Own. And attempted, some role-playing, tabletop role-playing with us and that sort of thing. So, but she's more of a board gamer than a TTRPGer. But she's 100% in on this also and has theories and has ideas and, giving guesses on what's going to happen next type of thing. So this has brought her in too. And I appreciate it. It's something that, we can both enjoy.
That's awesome because with the renewal, we're going to get to see them go deeper into making Scanlan more than just the horny bard who does butt stuff jokes. We're already starting to see Grog getting a little bit of character development, and we're getting deeper into Vax and Vex. We're seeing the characters start to pair off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Percy's got his own issues. We've seen Keyleth's got her desperation to prove herself to her friends and her own. She could be the most powerful, but she's constantly doubting herself. All of these characters start out as fantasy tropes, and you realize they've got some problems. It's not just their fuck-ups like they're portrayed in the first two episodes, but they also have some, issues that they got to work through, both working on themselves and in terms of how they relate to each other.
on that path, as you name off all the characters, do any of you have a particular person that you're kind of is like the person you like the best, like your favorite character out of this group?
I love Grog, but I have played Percy in so many campaigns. Like, as soon as Sarah and I watched that, I was like, yep, Percy's the sort of character you would create.
And on that same theme, I think Percy is a fantastic character, but I'm always Scanlan.
Truth.
Patrick. I'm guessing it's Grog, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to say Grog because he is, very entertaining.
But is that correct?
He likes the bear.
That poor bear doesn't get enough to do.
I do quite like the bear, and I don't understand why they leave him behind for safety. I'm like, he's the toughest one out of all of you. What are you
He's
doing?
a bear.
Right? Like, you should bring him for your safety.
Have you tried throwing the bear at them?
But I mean, it would probably the one that makes me laugh the most is Scanlan, so I'd have to go with him.
Now, which one? But which one do you play?
Oh,
you play
that's a different
Grog.
question.
Most of the time, I do play the big dumb guy, but that's just out of laziness most of the time because then I don't have to listen to anything. That's the best part about playing Null is whenever they're talking about strategy or anything, I just go and just zone out. Because his strategy is just let's go smash something. So yeah, that's one of them I play the most. It would be either him or the half elf. No, not the half elf.
I don't think
Talking about Vax.
Yeah. I guess out of that group, Grog would be the one I would play the most because the type of character that I play, other than the big smash 'em up guy, is not really represented in this show. So yeah, I would go with Grog.
Yeah.
Oh, typically there's specific character types I would play, I've played bards and enjoy playing bards. But that character, the Scanlan character, is probably my least favorite of the bunch. I like Percival, and I would probably enjoy playing Percival, but my favorite character is Keyleth.
Yeah, I 100%
that tracks.
Called that. Yeah.
I figured you guys would probably figure that out because I play healers, bards, or the crazy one, or the one that's got some sort of a problem.
And I say this
not just anxiety issues.
I say this not just to you, Joel, but to any of our listeners who have Scanlan Shorthalt as their least favorite character. Wait for it. He may have the most interesting journey of any of Vox Machina.
And I'm not discounting him,
I'm just saying, this is a very common perception of early Scanlan where he is a walking dick joke. But he goes places, is all I gotta say. And I will stop it there for future season spoilers.
At this point, he feels like Sam Riegel was trying a little too hard to be like miniature Jack Black, and so it kind of falls a little short. Plus, when I watched the actual them actually gaming, he himself kind of rubbed me the wrong way. The man himself. So maybe that's part of it. But I'll be curious to see where he goes.
You could tell when you watch them gaming that one of his goals is to crack the others up, and he's frequently successful. And, of course, there was one other member of Vox Machina who is not featured in this. His character was gone by the time this arc started.
Because they started level 7 here, so there was definitely stuff that happened before then.
Right. And there's a Dragonborn noble. I'm trying to remember the name of the character and the name of the actor, but he very early on had to leave the podcast. And there were some issues. I believe the actor himself was addicted to drugs. He treated the rest of them like crap off of the stream. And they just decided that we're not going to even mention that he was ever part of Vox Machina.
Well, that's rough.
Wow. Well, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a big character in the beginning, but fortunately they just decided, okay, we're going to move past the pre-stream stuff. We're going to do some of the early stuff that is just before the stream, and we're going to jump arcs to after he'd already left.
It's interesting, though, because it creates not only a situation where you can tell their backstory, you can also tell the actual story of what's already happened. So, I mean, narratively, it works well, fortunately for them. Or not.
No, I'm with you. Although I don't think they'll ever go back and do the Craghammer arc because it would be hard to tell without the character who they're never going to acknowledge again because of issues with the actor.
all in all, if somebody had told me, oh, they're making a D&D cartoon for now, and I knew nothing about Critical Role, my expectations for it would be very low. I'm incredibly pleased with the whole thing.
Well, and it's funny, somebody, I think it was, I forget which listener it was. I think it was Mike, but had mentioned, that it was like, you're comparing these two things, and I'm like, they're actually a little closer than you think, even though they're very different, because you do have a lot of the same elements that kind of play into both the original and this version, but they're two very different animals. And like I said, I didn't know that I was going to enjoy this, and they just have done such a good job with it that it's hard not to, even for a non-gamer at this point.
Yeah, I don't think you get to 100% on Rotten Tomatoes only applying to hardcore D&D nerds.
For sure. There's a lot going on here.
And animation is the perfect vehicle for a Dungeons & Dragons campaign to be represented through, because you just couldn't do it live action. It just would be too expensive.
Well, too expensive, and I think it'd be another situation where it kind of like...
The Dungeons & Dragons movie, it comes across as way too hokey.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, it's cheesy. To see cartoons dressed up as these characters is one thing, but then again, how are you going to manage showing, a halfling and a titan that travel together and make it look realistic?
Yeah,
you're going to spend a lot of money, is what you're going to do.
It's prohibitively
Exactly.
expensive to do well. Yeah, you
And
got to have
this
like
is
Peter
not
Jackson
cheap.
money.
Look, I would like to point out that when you do melee combat, especially like fantasy melee combat with spells, it's not the cheapest form of animation to actually make the fights look good. You look at classic medieval style swords and sorcery anime, and frequently they will do a cut to or do a lot of quick cuts on the battle scenes, because it's way easier to do guns or superpowers than it is to do swords. It is super expensive to have melee combat look good, and they pulled it off in this. Especially like the fight against the undead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the original fight against the dragon too. I was blown away, like just the electrical breath, whatever. Yeah, I mean, but you're right. The fight against the undead ghouls was creepy as shit.
And you just brought up the electric breath from the blue dragon. That's something I like, because I think if this was made by committee, if this is one of those things where a bunch of guys at Amazon decided that we should have this show, and it was made by a bunch of people that's sitting at a desk versus people that actually play the game, somebody would be like, well, it's a dragon. Why are they not breathing fire?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think people are going to get it if they don't breathe fire. Whereas I was like, awesome. Blue dragon breathes lightning. As it should be.
The sound and the glowing effect that they did in the production.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Yeah.
So
I, like you guys, very much enjoyed this. Really thought it was really well done. I went into it expecting to like it, and I was not disappointed. I've watched 4 of the episodes so far, and I'm 100% going to finish watching it.
Oh, you're in for a good trip.
I was going to say, you just got to where it starts getting good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last scene I saw was the oh god, how did the episode end? It ended on a cliffhanger, and I can't remember what it was right now off the top of my head, but still good. Like that whole scene when Pike goes away for a little while was really well done too.
I was glassy. Like I actually I wasn't gonna cry, but I felt myself like at the edge of tearing up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was really emotional, well done.
Oh, when she
when she realized that she had to go, and Grog got all sad and everything.
Yeah. I'll tell you. When I was 100% in on this is when Percy put on the mask for the first time.
Yes, the plague doctor mask.
Yes, I was just like, like when he pulled out the mask and the black smoke started coming up. Now okay.
And they're all like, "What the fuck?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like one of the best comments ever. Like, this is something we should have talked about. This is things that we should have had a conversation about with this. I 100% believe that he has made a deal with a demon, and once all the names are off his gun, he gets pulled down into hell. That's my guess.
Well, I will do a minor spoiler preview for what the final arc is titled. The final arc in Vox Machina is titled Vecna.
Now wait a second. Can they use Vecna if it's not? Oh, it is D&D. Man, we play too much Pathfinder. Oh, I hope they cut off the right hand.
So do we go right now to what I think is a spectacularly obvious thumbs up, thumbs down?
I think we should.
We always do.
All right. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Joel.
Well, I thought it was only going to be a thumbs up because of nostalgia on the original, but I'm going thumbs up because I actually thought it was worth watching, and absolutely thumbs up on the current show, for sure.
Excellent.
No surprises from me. Exactly the same reasons. I was afraid that I was going to go back and have my nostalgia memories ruined by the reality of the old school D&D cartoon. But in some ways, it was better than I remember it. And yeah, like I said, even before the break, Vox Machina is my favorite thing on TV.
And I would also give it's not quite the exuberant thumbs up that you guys are giving to the then. I kind of knew going into it it was going to disappoint me, and it did, but it wasn't like the Voltron level of disappointment that you guys had. It just was. I was just like, yeah, this isn't as good as I remember it being. Was really the feeling. It wasn't like I was like, this is crap. It was just the bad animation and the repetitiveness and that kind of thing kind of were glaring. But I did, like I said, I only got to watch 4 episodes, so it's not like I got a huge foot in the water. So yes, short version, thumbs up, and a huge thumbs up for the now. Yeah, Vox Machina is very well done, and I can't wait to finish watching and keep watching.
Yeah, I mean, for the then, I've got a thumbs up. Again, I was expecting a Voltron moment where I was like, there must have been something wrong with me as a child for enjoying this, and I was wrong. It's a solid cartoon. I mean, it's a solid storyline for it. I mean, there's some risk, there's some challenge. I have to throw back to it, but it did seem to me that the episodes moved real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, oh my God, we have to save this. Oh, there's no downtime. It's like, we go to here, we go to here, we go to here, which in the same time, I'm like, they only had 20 minutes to do it. And they had to, get that going. But thumbs up for the.
By the way, when they set up the ambush for the vampire and whatever, I can't remember their names, and dude just picks up the log and just starts beating him with it. I was like, okay, this is some serious shit.
Okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. This is how this is gonna go.
That was my first moment. I was like, wow, this is happening.
Yeah, and for the now, it's a thumbs up also.
Awesome. So if you have any of your favorite details about Dungeons & Dragons, you want to talk about Legend of Vox Machina, especially by the time you hear this, the first season will be done. Let us know. Give us a call at 708-NOW-RAP. That's 708-669-9727.
Yep. And if you guys want to hear any more of our shows, maybe go back to the D&D episode that we posted 300 episodes ago, or conversations about role-playing games or whatever, our back catalog is all over the place. We're on Podbean and Pandora. We're on iTunes. We are on Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. Honestly, like Pat says, if you can't find us, you ain't trying hard enough.
And if you're out there and you have a network and you're looking for content, contact us.
Yeah.
We have over 400 episodes of content.
Yeah, we're just kind of floating out here. Let's find us. If you're another podcaster, give me a call. Message me. But yeah, no, give us a call, leave us a rating, join us on Discord, because we always love to hear from you guys. So many of since we launched the Discord, so many of our shows have come from ideas from our listeners, and we love to hear from you. We like to hear about what's going on in your lives, and
we love to give you what you want.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Just like that.
Which is more Donnie Most.
But, wait, what?
But yeah, get in touch with us. We enjoy hearing from you guys. And Joel,
yo,
what do we got coming up, man?
Dude, Oscars month. We were going to talk about Nightmare Alley, the West Side Story, 101 Damnations versus Cruella.
The
Oscars.
Did you just said 101 Damnations?
I did. That's what I call it.
Okay. Just checking, not judging, just checking.
The Oscars themselves, Death on the Nile, Plan 9 from Outer Space, Pranks and or Jackass or both or something along those lines. And we're going to be doing a show on theme songs, so it's got a lot of shit coming.
Yeah, we have not been this organized in a long time, so you guys are like a rare moment of our lives. I'm honestly, out of all the shows coming up, the Death on the Nile one is the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I think we're used to Kenneth Branagh's mustache now, so.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody, if, this is the end of the show, and thank you guys for listening, and we will be back next week.
Don't waste another minute on your crying.
Whether or need we.
There's no way. The best is ready,
To begin.
Ooh, ooh. Long as we got each other.
What is happening?
We got the world standing right at our hands.
Baby, rain or shine. All the time. We got each other. Sharing the laughter and love. You don't know what this is, Mike?
We could just do a whole show just us singing theme songs.
Oh, man. People would love that.
Here we are, face to face, a couple of silver spoons.
What is
My wife's going to think crazy.